Hello guys. I'm just going to be doing a Hearthstone tutorial for you all. For backgrounds, for those of you who don't really know what it's about, I'm going to go through the tutorial. I'm going to be a bit more in depth about what I'm talking about and the cards I'm playing and why exactly I'm playing it. So I'm just going to do it at face value and hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing and understand and all of that good stuff.
Welcome to
This
the
is Bob.
Battlegrounds.
He is the
8
guy that
combatants enter.
sells all the
Only
minions.
one will take the crown.
So yeah, it's a 1v8, 1v7, 8 players. Oh my god. Let me just read this. Drag minions to your hero to buy them for 3 gold, build up an army and take down your enemies. Very
Here
simply
you
said.
can recruit new minions for the battle. Choose well.
So this guy will sell
Go ahead and
minions.
hire one of these recruits.
Usually you have more than on the board, but because it's a tutorial, they're only showing you one. So buying minions always costs 3 gold, and selling them will always give you 1
Now put
gold.
that recruit to work.
And then to place the recruit, you literally just drag it onto your board like that.
Your minions will do the fighting, but they need a strong commander.
Yeah. So right now, because we have the same amount of minions, it's 50-50 who attacks first. But if you have more minions, you always attack first. And your attack order is left to right.
Got some fresh recruits for you.
Choose a minion. Okay, so before I choose a minion, let me just explain kind of what all of these things do. So this guy here has taunt. So taunt means enemies must attack this minion. So even if I have other minions on the board, whatever their minion is attacking, it's always attacking this taunt here. Um, this is a mech. It has divine shield. So the first time it takes damage, the damage is ignored, and then the shield kind of pops and goes away. Um, this is a death rattle minion. So when this minion dies, it does something. So right now there's an icky imp. But when this icky imp dies, it will summon 2/1/1 imps. This, we know what it is. It's Taunt and Divine Shield. So essentially it will have to be attacked twice to die. Because wants to get rid of the shield and then wants to get rid of it. And 1/1 is the lowest stats you can have, essentially, apart from like a 0 attack minion. So we're going to take this imp, I think.
Spend wisely, but, spend.
You don't keep any unused gold, yeah.
It's good to get some minions in play.
So with this, with the unspent gold, it doesn't carry on, but each round you get 1 more gold. So next round we'll have 5 gold, the round after that we'll have 6 gold, 7 gold, 8 gold, blah 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 blah. And it caps out at 10 unless you get a certain card that can increase your max amount of gold, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just taking this all face value. So it caps out at 10. So you can drag this minion right to rearrange. So you can move like the order of when they're attacking. Okay, doesn't want to do it. Okay, there we go. And they always attack left to right. So this will always attack first. So I kind of want this here because I know it's going to get attacked at the back instead of keeping it forwards. You always kind of want taunts more to the right because you always know they're going to get hit. And you see the death rattle, it spawned 2/1/1 imps. Which is pretty good.
You can upgrade the tavern to get access to more powerful minions.
So as you can see here, we now have 5 gold instead of 4. And you can upgrade the tavern. So
I can bring in more powerful minions now.
can bring in more powerful minions, yes. The max tavern upgrade is tier 6 in base Hearthstone Battlegrounds. So you can keep upgrading to tier 6. Tier 6 are the strongest minions you can buy. So we're going to reroll and hopefully we'll get some tier 2s. So we got all of these tier 2s. This one, start of combat. For the rest of this combat, your beasts have 1+ attack. So if I had a beast, if these two were beasts, these are demons. They're not beasts, but if they were beasts, when the round started, this would become a 2/1, and this would become a 2/3. And yeah, this deals 4 damage to a random enemy, and this will buff our minions, giving 1/1. I'm just going to take the Kaboom ball. It doesn't really make a huge difference in the tutorial what you're picking, but in a real game you would want something that would synergize well with your board. So right now I'm kind of got demons. I would try and stick to that route unless I see minions that are a lot better. So that death rattle dealt 4 damage to a random minion. So as soon as that kaboom bot died, it killed the other dog. And as you can see, we had 3 minions, so we attacked first, and they only had 2. Okay, and now we have 2 of the same card in the store, which can let's get a triple. A triple is when you have 3 of the same card, and when you get that triple, you get a bigger, stronger unit, but you also get a triple reward, which can be very good if you're like looking for a minion of the tier above, but you can't afford to like tavern up because taverning up is very expensive. So here, when you have 3 of the same minion, they combine into a more powerful golden copy, play it for a reward, and the reward is always, yeah, and a reward is always a minion of the tier above. Um, so we've got this. The stats have all kind of combined to a 2-6. It's never going to be a 3-9. It's always going to be 2 of the base Void Walkers stats together, and then if you have any buffs on it, those will be included. So here we have summon 3 microbots. Magnetic. Your cards that summon minions summon twice as many. So this card here that summons 2 imps, instead of 2 imps, it would summon 4. If we have this on the board, which is very good, this would summon a minion for the opponent, but it's no longer in the game, like right now. And this, if you magnetize it, so I'll show you what magnetic means. It means play to the left of a mech to fuse them together. And then obviously the death rattle. So I'll show you how this works. So I'm going to put this here. So you see when I try to do it here, it won't magnetize. So if I placed it, it would just place regularly on the board as its own minion. But by doing this, I can save us a board space. You can have a maximum of 7 minions on a board. Obviously we don't have 7 right now, but late game, you know, you're going to be short on space. It's very good to combine them. So this 3-2 would go with this 2-2 and make a 5-4 minion.
I like where you're going with this.
Like that. There we go. So this guy's obviously very strong. He's quite a bit stronger than me. So you can see how we attack left to right. So this guy's going to attack. And they attack randomly. And we also take the damage of the other minion. If you notice that. So, let's say I'm fighting this board. My 5-4 decides to attack this 2-2. This 2-2 would die, but I would take 2 damage, so it would become a 5-2. I'm just gonna upgrade the tavern, just get rid of this. Okay, now we're in business. Let's see what's on the board.
Great. Let's get some better minions in here.
Alright.
I'll make sure these ones stick around for next time.
So you can freeze the board if there's a minion on the board that you like. And then next turn, instead of getting a whole new fresh board, this board is kind of saved for you for the next turn. So you got that.
Exactly what you were looking for. Go ahead and hire one of these recruits.
So let me show you what this guy does. This guy here is a soul juggler. After a friendly demon dies, deal 4 damage to the highest health enemy minion. These 2 are demons. This is not a demon. So it might be more beneficial to have this up here to get the damage out earlier. So we can actually buy 2 of these. Drag minions to your bartender to sell them. It frees up space and you get 1 gold. So right now these 2 are demons, so these work quite well with this. This is a mech, so I'm actually going to sell the mech, even though it's very powerful. But just for the board synergy, I'm going to do that. I've got a triple, and the triple, instead of dealing 4 damage to the highest health enemy minion once, it now does it twice. It's very beneficial. And then here, none of this is particularly helpful. Let's just take this rover. And that is whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 2/3 mech with taunt. So the mech will have to be attacked. Booyah. Now we're dealing some damage. And how damage is calculated actually is, right now, I am tier 3. So if I win the combat, I will do base 3 damage. And then all these minions tiers will be added. So tier 3, so it would be 3 plus 1, plus 1, plus 4, plus 3. If all of these minions hypothetically lived, and I would deal like, oh god. I would do 12 damage in total. If everything here lived, and including my base hero power. Hero tier tavern. I can't English, I'm sorry. Let's take this guy. Your cards that summon minions summon twice as many, so this will summon twice as many. This will summon 2 spiders. Battle cries is give your other mechs +2 attack. So when I play this from my hand, it will do an instant. It will do something as soon as it's played. So this mech here would gain +2 attack if I'd bought and placed this minion. But I didn't do that, so oops. And actually, okay, I was gonna say the placement isn't very good, but I don't think it matters too much. We're not gonna get maximum efficiency because we only spawn 3 instead of 4, but it's not that big of a deal. Your minions that survive combat help you deal additional damage. The higher the tavern tier, the higher the... Okay, so this guy basically explains it. So all the tiers here are added to your base damage here, and then you deal damage. To the enemy. And you start off on 40 health. You used to start off on 30, but now you start off on 40, and it just kind of goes down. And when you hit 0, you die, obviously. I just upgraded, very simple, but I can read to you what all of these cards do. So give adjacent minions +1/+1 and taunt. Adjacent minions are the minions either side of them. So if I place this minion right here in between these two, this would get taunt and this would get taunt. But we don't necessarily want this getting taunt, so I would never taunt that because we want all of these other demons to die first before this. Adjacent minions have +1 attack, so when this is alive, the minions either side of it would have 1 attack, but when this dies, that buff goes away. And we kind of know what magnetic does. You put it to the side of a mech and it combines. So oh wow, this actually summoned 2 taunts because Khadgar actually made it summon 2. I didn't actually think about that when I put that there, but it makes sense. I definitely knew that actually. It definitely didn't slip over my head. Again, you can upgrade to tier 6, but I'm not going to do that. Here we can see some bigger minions. Whenever a friendly mech dies, gain +2/+2. Gain +2/+2 for each other pogo hopper you played. So if I played like 10, then it would gain +2/+2 10 times. Give a friendly beast. We don't have any beasts, so if we played this, battle cry wouldn't go off. Gain +14 health. Improved by each health your hero is missing. So we can place this actually. So we only gained 8 health because we started off on 35 health and we're at 27, so we gained 8 health from that. Yeah, you know what, let's play another. Maybe we'll get a triple next turn, or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just win the game. So you see here how this didn't summon anything? Because the max amount of minions you can have is 7 on the board. Um,
That's how it's done.
yeah,
You're
that is the
feeling
tutorial
the
done.
motion, friend.
Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully I wasn't yapping too much. Maybe you should times to me if I'm, you know, yapping a bit too much. But hopefully that helps. And I will try to go through some of the minions now, just so you can understand what all the different types do when you are watching me play or playing yourself. I thought I'd go through all of the minions in the battlegrounds and kind of just explain what each of them do. Since you know what, yeah, let's just go straight into it. Let's just go straight into it. Um, so again, I already explained these minions, but I'm just gonna go through them again for someone who wants maybe a bit more of an in-depth thinking or all of that good stuff. So here, Taunt and Divine Shield. Taunt enemy minions must attack this minion. So when enemies are attacking, if you have a taunt on your board, they must always attack a taunt. If you have 2 or 3 taunts, they can attack any of the taunts, but they can't attack a minion that does not have taunt on it. And there's essentially no exception to this. But if I do come across a minion that is an exception, I will tell you. Um, this battle cry does something when you play it from your hand. A battle cry makes this minion golden. So this minion will turn into a 2/2 golden pirate. However, you will not get the triple reward from it, as it turns golden once it's played from your hand. Like once it's already on the board. You need to get the triple reward. It needs to be in your hand and golden. Then you place it, not a regular minion and then placed. So you wouldn't get the triple reward from it, but it does make it golden, which can have some benefits from like other cards that can buff golden minions, for example. And Divine Shield, first time it takes damage, ignore it. It just pops the shield, and the minion underneath is protected with its stats. Death Rattle minion does something when it dies. So when this minion dies, it summons a 1/1 Microbot, which is just a 1/1 base minion. Nothing special about it, but it does summon that once it dies. Wind Fury can attack twice each turn. So when this minion attacks once, if it lives, it then goes on and attacks again. And this minion is very much so guaranteed to live because it has Divine Shield. So the first time it takes damage, it's ignored. So the first time it attacks, the Divine Shield pops, and then it can attack again, and then it may die because it only has 1 health. Start of combat is if this minion is in your hand, summon a copy of it. So at the start of the game, if you've not placed this minion and you've got the space on your board, this will actually come onto your board and attack as a unit. There are some benefits to holding cards in your hands, as some cards can give you buffs to your hand. And give this battle cry here is quite special because it gives elementals in the tavern +1/+1 this game. So any elementals you come across in the tavern are permanently buffed, which is good. This card here, when you sell this, gain a tavern coin. A tavern coin is a spell. A coin essentially just gives you a temporary extra coin to spend that turn. So that's quite handy if you need 1 gold to buy a minion or to upgrade, then having that coin can be extra useful. I'm going to ignore this because this is Battlegrounds duos. I'm kind of just talking about the base Battlegrounds here. Yeah. Reborn. So reborn means resurrect this with 1 health the first time it dies. So once this minion dies, it gets reborn with its base stats at 1 health. So this 2/1, when it dies, it will come back to life again as a 2/1. This blood gem is a spell that gives a minion +1/+1. Blood gems can be buffed, but it's just essentially a 1/1 buff that you can put on any minion. A spellcraft is a temporary spell every turn. So spellcraft give a minion death rattle summon a 3/2 crab. So you give a minion when it dies to summon another unit. If you don't use the spellcraft to get that turn, it goes away forever. The tavern coin and the blood gems will always stay in your hand until you use them. But a spellcraft spell, if you don't use it that turn, it disappears. So you should always use the spellcrafts in your hand if you have them. Um, and then finally, rally. So rally means when this attacks. So let's say you kind of want your rally minions to the most left, so you can always guarantee they're attacking. Because then when it attacks, it buffs itself by giving itself a blood gem. This blood gem is not permanent, and any buffs that happen during combat aren't permanent, but any buffs outside of combat are permanent. So let's say this attacks, it turns into a 3/4. When you go back to your, recruiting phase, that this will go back to its base stats of being a 2/3. And yeah, and the rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. Avenge. So avenge means does something after X friendly minions die in combat. So you kind of want this to the most right of your board. You don't want this attacking because if it attacks and dies, the avenge won't go off. So when 4 minions die, you get a refresh, and the refresh is when you get new minions in your tavern. We know what magnetic does. When you play this to the left of a mech, the stats combine and it becomes a bigger mech. Yeah. Here, this minion sells for 3 gold. So usually minions sell for 1 gold. This is an exception to that rule. Sells for 3 gold. It's a good minion. So this is a discover. So when you get a triple reward from tripling a minion, you get a discover. This is essentially the same thing. This improves each turn. So the more turns you have it, the better tier you can get. Caps out at tier 6. So if you kept this for 6 turns, you would discover a tier 6 minion instead of a tier 1 minion. A discover is where you get to choose between 3 minions, or yeah, choose one of 3 cards to add to your hand. Yeah. I said that any stats you gain in combat aren't usually kept. This card does keep them. So if a card was to give buff the Terragosa would keep all stats in combat. For example, this rally, give another friendly dragon 2/3. In combat, the friendly dragon wouldn't keep this 2/3 out of combat, but this card would keep the stats out of combat, if that makes sense. I'm explaining this really badly. I'm so sorry. Start of combat, something that happens at the start of combat, it gives a friendly dragon +2/2 and divine shield. We have end of turn effect. So at the end of your turn, you and your teammate get a random tier 1 card. This is a duos card. Don't really need to know about that. At the end of every 2 turns, get a random elemental. So at the end of every 2 turns, you get an elemental in your hand. This is source of gold and cards. Source of gold, by what I mean is that card you get is always going to be worth at least 1 gold because you can always sell it. So it's useful to keep. But yeah, that is kind of me going through all of the words, the keywords, and what they mean.